5:30, and it's time for me to bring this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Chair Pulitz,
Present.
Vice Chair Norvell, Treasurer Rogers,
Here.
Member Golden. Okay.
He should be able to answer. Is it possible to unmute Michael Golden and Steve Takis?
Steve Takis is here.
Can you unmute yourself, Michael? Okay, move on then.
Okay. Member Hamilton. Member Hutter.
Present.
Member Horton. A quorum is present.
Okay, quorum is present. Carl, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the past meetings of the Airport Authority. We had two previous meetings that we have the minutes, and Corey actually provided us with some updated corrections to those minutes. Would someone like to move to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll do it. I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Now, the chair reserves the right to modify the agenda in order to most effectively process the agenda items. Items may be taken out of order. Items may be combined for consideration by the authority. Items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Members of the public who wish to address the airport authority may speak on the agendized and non-agendized matters related to the airport. Since I see no members of the public, so we'll go ahead and move on. Then let's just go ahead and move right into the airport engineer's report.
So this is, I'm Brian Martinez-Molas with Wood Rogers, so happy to be here with you guys. So at this point, Wood Rogers, we have begun conversations working with the airport manager and the FAA. So we are starting discussions with them on the upcoming ACIP and what projects need to be prioritized for the airport. And so we had some initial meetings with them. I don't have anything official to report. There should be some upcoming official meetings with the FAA to kind of get some buy-off from them on the ACIP. And then at that point, once we have some clarity from them, we will present, working with Corey, presenting you all with the proposed ACIP moving forward. It's just really important to get the FAA on board with the plan. It helps with fundability and making sure that they're in support of where we're going. So that's where we're at today.
Great. Any questions?
Speaking of the Airport Capital Improvement Program, Corey, whatever happened to the offset PAPI and all, is that dead or still alive or?
Alive. So in addition to the Wood Rogers engineering report, we have a report and the additional materials from Armstrong Engineering. I'll kind of go over that now. And the Armstrong Engineering report, they show that the snowplow truck has a tentative delivery time of spring of 2024. They also talk about the timeline for the nighttime approach offset PAPI construction. And here, the start time is to be determined based on material lead times. That project is full go-ahead, but they're subject to supply of the materials.
So the problem is we've been waiting for components of the system.
Yes, but we're not really that far behind schedule at this point. But they basically were originally going to start construction right about now, which they haven't started yet because of lead times for materials. There's also going to be a slight delay there to try to coordinate all of the items that would cause a runway closure to take place at the same time. That actually will cause a little bit of a delay with the start of the project to make sure that we have all the materials and everything lined up so that we have minimal runway closure time.
So it's probably gonna be summer now before that gets completed, I think.
I wouldn't say that yet. I would say we may. I guess I don't have enough information to know exactly,
Okay.
but it doesn't sound like we're looking at significant delays as of right now. I guess we'll see more over the next month or so and see if all the stars align to get that done. But the original timeline has it being completed through the winter. We're probably a month behind right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Brianna, please note Michael Golden is present now. For that. We do not have a consent agenda. Oh, John Rogers has a comment.
Do we have any feel for timing and when your first meeting is gonna be on the ASIP?
Yeah, so when we met with the ADO, we had a meeting with them, I think, in the end of December, and so they said March timeframe, so they should be reaching out. So we'll follow up with them, but we're sending them some preliminary information for them to do some upfront work to then help facilitate that meeting so that we can ideally make more decisions rather than create more questions.
And the reason why I ask is because we have to submit our budget for next year by the middle of March, preliminary budget, so, or by the March meeting of this authority. So if we had a pretty good feel for where, what monies were gonna be spent next fiscal year, that by that time it would be useful.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll have an official ACIP from the FAA, but I think we can work with Corey and prepare some appropriate budgetary numbers.
And then Corey, a little update on the SRE building, please.
So that's the final item on the Armstrong Engineering report. The earthwork is to be determined, but likely before the end of winter. So that project it's also a little bit behind schedule from the original schedule that I saw, but not significantly. And so we should see some earthwork fairly soon on that. Right now, I think this is primarily delays due to the permitting with the city. So that's less lead time for materials and more permit delays, which are a common theme right now with other projects as well. And that completes the Armstrong Engineering report.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just one very quick one on that, Corey. Under the offset PAPI, it says submittal review with Lean Corp. What is that item?
I'll have to ask Armstrong for clarification on what that is exactly.
Corey, I could probably, just at a generic, obviously this is an Armstrong project, not a Wood Rogers project, but just generically, the submittal review process for construction projects is the contractor submitting equipment from the plans to verify that it meets the specifications of the project. And then once the engineer of record approves it, then they will go through for procurement. So speculating a bit, but that is most likely what that is.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? No more comments? We'll move on. We do not have a consent agenda item on this agenda, but we do have, for public hearings, we do have agenda item H1. And this agenda item for discussion and possible action, review analysis of airport staffing needs and approve additional staff position of administrative assistant. Now I defer this to Corey Jenkins to give a staff summary.
Okay, so for this item, I have written with assistance from a couple of the board members the executive summary. I'm just going to read off of that summary right now. So after 2.5 years working for the Carson City Airport Authority, management has a firm grasp on the routine administrative tasks needed to support airport operations, as well as the effort required to support past and projected growth. Growth is likely to accelerate exponentially based on the number of developers that are reaching out with interests in building new hangars. Airport revenues are increasing year over year, with 2022 showing a 42% in an increase in revenues, and 2023 showing an additional 9.5% increase. These increases can be partially attributed to a focus on data collection and analysis by our part-time contracted administrative assistant, and require us to continue this highly timely consuming work moving forward. Management is confident that a full-time position will also drive improvement in these areas. Improved bill collections, reducing the adjusted journal entries in the annual audit, gathering central assessment tax contributions. In addition to the tasks that will increase airport revenues, there are other areas that need improvement. Increased airport utilization should be met with an improvement in customer service. The pilots and other airport users deserve to have a great customer service experience at KCXP. A full-time administrative position will support improvement in the following areas that benefit the airport and its users. Have staff available 7 days a week. Cross-train staff to ensure uninterrupted service to the community. Increase tenant access to the manager. Finish operating procedures and manuals to ensure consistent quality of service. Attract new developers. Progress on a new terminal building. Become our own grant sponsor. And also accomplish the land transfer from Carson City to the airport authority. Also, you can see under the financial information, the financial impacts of this position. It's actually only ends up being about a $40,000 annual increase in labor expenses, primarily due to the savings that we would also see, which would be a reduction in clerical costs, and also should result in a reduction of our bookkeeping expenses as well. And I am available for any questions.
Any comments from the members of the board? Any questions? Go ahead, John.
So my first comment is we can afford this. We have several years in a row now where we have created enough difference between revenues and expenses to be able to easily afford this additional cost. Second comment I'd like to make is I think Corey has more than earned the right to set this airport's staffing level the way he feels is best. My experience in my in my work as an entrepreneur and as a businessman is that when you have a high-powered employee like Corey who's capable of managing all aspects of the operation, that your number one goal as his boss is to get out of his way. And so I am very much in favor. If Corey says that the airport operations is a four-person operation, it's a four-person operation. And I, as one of his bosses, feel that he should be supported in that on that basis.
Thanks, John. Harlow?
That's excellent, John. I could not agree more. I think this is long overdue. And I think we should take advantage of the opportunity going forward.
Paul?
I'll say, being down at the airport almost on a day-to-day basis, I can see all the clerical work that Corey has to deal with. Things come up right and left day by day that I think it'd be great if he could get out of some of that and get on to the more important things of attracting customers, building hangars, land leases, that kind of thing. So I highly support this.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah,
Carl?
I would echo the same and say, Corey is our CEO, and as a CEO, my number one job is to enlist the support of my board in getting me the resources I need and encouraging me to get out of doing the things that are best done by others and get on with doing the things that only I can do. And Corey, there are a lot of things, and you laid out some of them. We know them, that only you can do and only you should do, and you really need to be able to be focused on those things. And you're to be commended, as others have done, in creating an environment at the airport and a business that frankly demands that level of activity and the ability to respond to the opportunities we have. So, I too echo what others have said, and certainly support getting you in a place where you can do those CEO things, and you need the support to do that.
Any other comments?
Hey, Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, I'll open up to the public. Go ahead, Bruce.
No, it's
Oh.
Michael.
Oh, Michael, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I have a question for Corey and a comment, a couple of general comments. The first general comment is I did talk to Corey about this earlier today, and I'm very supportive of this. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I do want to caution us. Oh, hold on a second. I'm getting an echo. I'm going to turn my volume down. So I want to caution us that adding a staff member is something that shouldn't be taken lightly to this organization. It's very difficult to eliminate a position should that occur in the future, or a need occur in the future. Just food for thought there. Again, though, I'm fully supportive of this. The other thing, I have a question for Corey. Do you have a candidate identified at this time?
So this position, we've created a position in the past, and that position that we created, there was a clear line of promotion. So there, according to the NRS requirements, it did not require it to be posted to the public. We were able to promote from internally. This position, however, there's no line of promotion for it, so it will be posted the same way we did our airport operations and maintenance technician position to meet the NRS requirements. There will likely be an applicant who is highly qualified, but we will consider any applicants who apply for it equally. I think that's all I'm going to comment on that.
Anything else, Michael?
No.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Yes, John?
We have had a growth in our staffing over the last few years. And so I wanted to get a feel from Corey, are we done adding staff at this point for the foreseeable future, or what is your view of the future relative to staffing?
That's a great question. So I believe that with a 4-person staff, we will be adequately staffed to do the job that we need to be doing as the airport authority. I do think in long term, there will potentially be changes, but that's so long term that it's not really something we need to be concerned about at this time. Probably 8 to 10 years down the road would we be looking at additional staff.
Go ahead, Carl.
And I suppose a question for Treasurer Rogers. We see the math here around the $70,000 in labor and the offsets resulting in a $40,000 increase. Is that, and if the answer is yes or no, the question is it material? But does that cost include just the straight wage, or is that including the benefits and other obligations?
That's fully encumbered wages.
Great, thanks.
Great questions from everybody. Okay, any others? If not, can I call on a member to make a motion? We don't have any. Oh, Bruce. I thought you weren't public. Oh, okay, fine. Okay.
Bruce Grodd, CTE. Share the board sentiments. Corey, having worked with him and having him educate me on everything business aviation, and he is very competent in what he does. He free up his time. When we did have, I say we, the temp that was helping him out, just freed up his time. I try not to call him too much, but 7 days a week, 24 hours, that defines him. So as much as we can support him, I share the sentiments of the board. So
Oh.
thank you all.
Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it. Now, Harlow, is it good for me to call on a member to make a motion? My mentor?
Any further board comment after public comment?
Okay, any further board comment? No. With that, who'd like to make a motion? Paul?
Just-
I second.
Okay, John seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Oh,
Aye.
hold on a second. Harlow has a
It
comment.
is appropriate to ask if there is any other discussion now that the motion has been. made
Yes.
and seconded,
Okay,
just so we cover all the bases.
okay. Is there any other discussion before we do this second? We've already made the motion, so now no more discussion? All right. And a second from who? Me. John Rogers seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. We're closing discussion. All right, now.
Gentlemen, I'm signing off for the evening.
Okay,
Tim, I'm signing off, okay?
what's that?
I'm going to be signing off.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Gordon signing off. Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.
What I would, Corey, would you like to have Mr. Takis do his report before you do the airport managers, or would you like, since he's hanging on there, would you like to make yours first? Doesn't matter to me.
Well,
Steve's disappeared.
he just disappeared.
Oh,
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is.
yeah, I've heard you. Would you like to make a report before Corey does his, Steve?
Yeah, I don't have anything additional to report right now.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the manager's report.
Okay, it's been a very busy month, that's for sure. I've made some changes to the formatting of the manager's report. So first of all, there were 2 snow events. The additional staff really paid off with handling snow plowing. The first event, all staff reported to the airport on a Sunday, and the airport was plowed in record time. It was not only quicker, but also more organized and safer. The second event, I had a conflict, and I was not able to contribute to the snow plowing. The airport was still able to open the same day because of the additional staff available, and also Rick Lee made some good decisions to delay opening non-essential pavement until the second day in order to open the runway as soon as possible. I think he did a great job with that. There were a couple of aircraft incidents. There was a runway excursion followed by a runway incursion. The airport had the necessary NOTAMs issued and took appropriate action to prevent these incidents from occurring. Sadly, accidents do happen. With that, as a result from that, I don't think the airport did anything wrong in any way, but I do believe that we could add something to our emergency plan. And the addition of contacting the Oakland Center and NorCal air traffic control centers and notifying them of a runway closure would be beneficial. And this is primarily because there's a disconnect between flight service and air traffic control. This is something that was created with the implementation of the digital NOTAM system. With this new system, air traffic control is not getting timely notifications of NOTAMs. Even though it's the same group within the FAA, it's an issue with air traffic control. We could help by contacting the air traffic control centers directly whenever we have a runway closure specifically. It's by no means required of us, but it's something we could do to help. There was a aircraft operation on a closed runway during snow plowing operations. That pilot reached out to the airport right away. I've had discussions with him about what happened and what can be done to prevent that in the future. And I believe that the issues that resulted in that operation have been addressed, and it doesn't need any further attention. Leadership Institute this month. So this month, the focus was on the Carson City Sheriff's Department. We had a tour of the Carson City Jail. There was also presentations from different departments, including dispatch, district attorney's office, and the special enforcement team. The special enforcement team was a very interesting presentation. We got to see how they are able to address various different types of crime with detectives that are very highly qualified. And this is something that's fairly unique to Carson City. It's relevant to the airport because we are a big part of the city, and I'm more educated on the type of resources that are available through the Sheriff's Department. Especially when it comes to trespassing and the increase in the homeless population and the types of resources that are available within Carson City and the Sheriff's Department to address these things. The Sheriff spoke about more resources available at the Sheriff's Office and the crime trends and what they mean for our community. These are really good things to be aware of as the airport. We made some updates to the airport master record. So we submitted changes to the airport master record for contact information, including emergency contact and office contact, as well as defining runway 27 as the preferred calm wind runway. This isn't the first time we've submitted this. Previously, it's been done through the state of Nevada. I did these updates directly. I was also able to clearly see all of the previous changes that are still pending. Hopefully, this will ping the FAA and get all of those changes to go through. And I'll be able to monitor it a little bit more closely and follow up on it if it doesn't happen. Perimeter road capacity testing. So the on-site work has been completed, and we should receive a report on the capacity of the perimeter road soon. Fuel flows numbers for December and November. We had a big increase in November. That was probably primarily due to how difficult of a winter we had last year, with the numbers for December being about the same. Also included here, you can see the airport operations numbers for the year. I'll be able to expand on this and do a comparison to 2022 for the next board meeting, so we can have the annual percent changes included with this as well, and we'll be able to see it for 24 and moving forward in the future. And then you can see the more detailed chart of the airport operations attached. And that's all that I have.
There is one little exception to the calm wind runway,
IFR
requirement.
departures.
And that's the JIMPA departure. You know, the wind, could very well be calm, but due to low ceilings and visibility, departing, IFR aircraft would need to use runway 09.
So that's a very good point. And the remark in the master record is that the runway 27 is the preferred runway, and it is not a regulation. So it does not prohibit IFR traffic from doing IFR departures from 9.
And we always announced, on Unicom, instrument departure runway 09. So if there did happen to be anybody out there scud running, not, on an IFR flight plan, that hopefully they would hear us.
Yeah.
I don't know,
that's-
if Carl has any comment on that or not, but.
Well, I would agree. I mean, the obstacle departure procedure, the JIMPA procedure, is off of 9. But I guess when I hear that note, I've always interpreted that as sort of a VFR remark. For what it's worth, the preferred calm wind runway, it's like, Yeah, but then there's a whole other world of things that come into play in the IFR space. But I hear what you're saying, Arlo. Is your comment leading to, do we maybe need to amplify or modify that remark?
Yeah, I don't know, the law of unintended consequences, but I just bring it up, because it could be an issue, just something to think about,
Well, it ends up being a reminder, right? So the IFR pilot looking to depart is going to be thinking about all of their IFR flight planning, right? Or they should be, right? And I think it's maybe what you're suggesting is a friendly reminder, because what does it cost to, add to safety? To kind of, you're saying a gentle nudge to say, remember, 9 is actually the IFR departure.
Well, if there is a VFR pilot out there and the wind is calm, yet there's low ceilings and visibility, but not enough to preclude VFR flight, that the departing IFR aircraft ought to announce that an instrument departure, runway 09. That way it will make sense to the VFR guy why we're departing 09 when the wind is calm. I don't know. It's just,
I think it's really good that you brought that up. At different airports, there exists various different hazards. Some of the airports that I've worked at, I've seen hazards that far exceed what our airport experiences. But what you're highlighting there is a hazard at our airport, and it's important to bring attention to it. Runway 27 is a preferred runway for landing for both IFR and VFR. That's where the instrument approaches into 27. But then the departure out of 27 is not preferred because of the rising terrain. And you also see that on landing runway 9, the PAPI is at an extremely high angle on runway 9 to the point where it's actually not usable at night. So because of the rising terrain in the different directions, it causes this conflicting traffic. And it's important to be aware of that for everyone. And if there was ever a justification at our airport for an air traffic control tower, that would probably be it. That would be the highlight of the risk assessment for the airport, is the rising terrain in the different directions and the impacts on the approaches and departures going in different directions.
might be a suggested topic for wings training or something, Paul. I don't know.
That's a great idea.
In your circles, if you.
I will comment, I probably do more VFR takeoffs and landings at the airport than anybody, and we don't really seem to have much of a problem with the IFR guys trying to get out on Niner. They're usually pretty good on the radio.
Not till you hit one of them.
To deal with. Overall, I think it's working out pretty good, and like I say, the it is kind of a complication here. We got a calm wind runway at 27, and we got the IFR guys taking off. Now, what a lot of the IFR guys do, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of them, they wait till they're actually airborne before they report in, and I guess they get clearance for IFR after they take off, so that way they can take off 27.
Well, there's a question about.
If you can.
Yeah, because you cannot enter controlled airspace if cloud clearance is not in accordance with Part 91, unless you're on an air traffic control clearance. So there's no point in belaboring it here.
Well, what I was going to ask is, I have the AFD pulled up, and does the update to the master record that you're talking about, Corey, end up, where does the result of that actually show up? Does it show up in our AFD entry around airport remarks, or where does that actually pop up?
That is correct. You can also look up a document called the 5010, which is the master record directly, but it's essentially the AFD. And one thing to keep in mind is the AFD doesn't actually exist anymore. The FAA's formal airport facility directory, and it's actually a term that's still used, but the AFD itself doesn't actually exist anymore. And that's actually, you're looking at the master record.
Well, it's still formatted the same way that the old book
Yeah.
was, but okay,
Yeah.
yes, that's good education. But that is, so for practical purposes, I don't even know the document you referred to, the official name of the master record. for practical purposes, I think as Harlow's calling attention to, what people would see is if they actually look at the document formerly known as the AFD,
Yeah.
and were to glance at that to understand the airport they're flying into, they would see Calm Wind Runway 27 now.
Correct. And that's dependent on the FAA actually completing the implementation.
Yep,
So
and
all
left-
that I do
left
is
traffic
submit it
only.
to the FAA. We've got about 10 changes pending, and that's been over the past 2 years or so.
Years.
And they've never actually implemented any of those changes. So hopefully with this recent new ping with me doing this update, we'll get that stuff moving. And since I did this directly instead of it going through the state, I'll be able to monitor it a little bit more closely.
I'd like to comment, just to reiterate what Corey was saying. The incident we had in the airport a couple of weeks ago with these two airplanes stemmed a lot of thought. Corey and I sat down and were thinking about what in the heck could we have done differently, what should be done differently, what was done correctly, what was not done correctly. And as we went through the AFD and we saw, well, where's the emergency number? Because I remember, and where's the left turn only on 27, things that we put into this AFD request years ago were still not in. So that prompted us to get back on top of it. We submitted and it just got ignored. The other thing that really concerned us was that we were very much aware that Flight Service had posted NOTAMs as soon as we had that incident on the runways, which is huge. That was very responsible. Corey verified it. He went out and made sure we had somebody on a radio for any inbound traffic, all the things to provide safety. Then we find out later that Flight Service does not communicate with air traffic control, which was completely something we would have assumed would have happened, but it doesn't. So we learned a lot from this. That's why Corey's mentioning about taking some over and above steps, which I think is terrific. We're learning from things that happen and we're becoming more and more professional. Overall, we did a very responsible job on that incident, but had we known what we know today, we'd have done it differently. And that's from researching, and we researched, so I'm very pleased about that. Any other comments on the airport managers?
Tim, I had a follow-up question for Corey, just to clarify on your report. The two scenarios that, I've gone to this thing and I've lost my page. The two scenarios that you refer, here it is. You mentioned 2 bullet points. There was a runway excursion followed by a runway incursion, the Malibu, then the 421.
Right.
Is the aircraft operation on closed pavement referring to the 421, or is that actually a totally separate scenario?
That's a separate scenario.
Okay, thank you.
That was during snow plowing operations.
Gotcha. I just wanted to know whether that was indeed a total of 3 airplanes.
Yeah, 3 airplanes.
3.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Is that it for comments or questions for airport manager? If that's it, then we're going to move on to, do any of the airport authority members have any comments, status review, internal communications, correspondence, or status reports, anything you want to discuss at this point? If not, last opportunity for public comment. Did you say you have something, John? Oh, we have a treasurer's report. I'm sorry, I jumped right over that. John will give us his treasurer's report.
Nothing noteworthy in the numbers that you see, whereas in previous years, we are slightly ahead of budget on revenues and slightly under budget on expenses. And so we're traveling along just like we want to be.
Excellent.
Halfway through the year.
Yeah, I'm sorry, John. Yeah, I reviewed that. It was so, I just, for some reason, just missed you right on the list. Okay, very good. With that, no public comment. Are there any agenda items for the next regular meeting that would like to be proposed? Yes, sir.
As in previous years, we're going to present the first look at the preliminary budget at next month's meeting. I won't be here, but Corey and I will have done all the work, and he'll be ready to present that to the board so we can start looking at the 24-25 budget.
Okay, thanks, John. Unless there's any other comments, This meeting is adjourned.